Perfect. Alrighty.
Right then, welcome everybody. It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming back after summertime. We hope you are back with renewed enthusiasm and heading into this new season with a sense of optimism. We are the Live Well Live team. We are the lifestyle medicine team here at Boots Online Doctor, and we are with you every Monday lunchtime talking all things holistic weight loss. My name is Dr. Samantha Wellapilly. I am a GP. I'm also a yoga therapist, a meditation teacher, and an author. And I'm very passionate about holistic support for weight loss. And I'm joined today by my colleague Ruth, who will say hi also.
Great. Lovely to have you here, Sam. And I am Ruth Taylor. I'm a nutritionist with Boots Online Doctor, part of the lifestyle medicine team and part of the team that bring these lovely Live Well live webinars to you every week. If we're not here on a Monday when it's a bank holiday, we will be here on a Tuesday just to give you the heads up. And really, today we thought we would talk all about that post-summer reset because we know it can be quite a challenging time, those summer holidays, for many of us, ourselves included. So we felt this would be a great way to think about restarting. Just to let you know, if you have any questions, please pop them into the Q&A box. Please do say hello to us in the chat box. We love to hear from you. And please do share any top tips or thoughts in the chat box as well. It really helps us to know that what we're saying is making sense, or if you have any questions around what we're saying, then it can help us understand what you need to know more about. So it's really, really helpful to have that interaction. Um, Really interested to know, we've got a little webinar poll just to see if you've been with us before, so we'll possibly launch that in a minute. We've got Raman and Gareth here helping us in the background, so thank you so much to them as well. It's quite a great thing for us to have that support at these webinars as well. Great. So let's see what's going on in the chat box. Hello, Elena. First Zoom here. Welcome. Really welcome. Really nice to have Rach here as well. I don't know if I recognise many names in the participant list, but also just to let you know, if you would prefer to be anonymous, Gareth, I don't know if you could share the sort of information on how people can change their names, but that can be really helpful because some people prefer to be anonymous and you can easily change your name by following the instructions. So please have a look at those if that applies to you. Great. So we're just sharing with you a quick webinar poll just to see whether you've been with us before, whether you've come again. Welcome back to those who are here for a second, third, fourth, or fifth time. Really love to have you back. Come to as many webinars as is comfortable or as you need to. I think for all of us, we need that support, we need that repetition, we need a little bit of accountability, we need to feel like we're not alone. I think it's really important not to feel alone, isn't it, Sam? So we're just really keen to hear from you and welcome to people who are here for the first time. A very warm welcome to you. And if you sign up for the webinars and for any reason aren't able to attend, then you will be able to listen to the recording. We share that now with a link after the webinar in an email. So let's move on. Let's have a look at this. So a few people have managed to listen to the podcast, but maybe a few more will do that. And some people are really looking at the replays as well. So that's good to know. And there you go. Let's move on. So today we wanted to think all about that sort of post summer reset. And I was talking to some colleagues and we were talking about the analogy of being on a sort of weight loss program almost, or it being in that zone, almost like driving a car. So if you think, if you're all car drivers, bear with me. When you first get in your car and you're in first and second gear, you're accelerating quite fast. You're very focused. You're really conscious about what you're doing. And this sort of is like the time when you're really focusing on losing weight and how that is going for you. You can go into cruise mode where things are going well, you know what you're doing, you've got all of your resources around you, you know what foods to buy, you know what to eat, you know how to move your body to really support, you know how to manage your stress, all of the things that we need to do to really help this work for us. So we're sort of in that cruise mode when we're in gear 3 and 4. And then we can almost sometimes find that we fall into reverse inadvertently. And for many people, the summer can be that sort of like time when we almost hit reverse, or we almost hit those too many curves in the road and we just find it difficult to navigate. So, this is why we thought we'd talk all about that post summer reset today. And to remind you, you're not starting over, you're just moving forward from where you are. And actually, if things haven't gone well, then it's an opportunity to reflect on what you can learn from the tricky times, what it is that's holding you back, what it is that gets in your way, what are the things you need to navigate a little bit more consciously going forwards. And also recognize the fact that you're here today. Well done for being here, and that you are really focused on getting back into that first and second gear, and that this is really an important journey for you. Slip ups are really important for us to make, and actually, I think we can learn as much from the slip ups and when we make mistakes as we can from when we're doing things really perfectly well. So let us reframe the lessons in our head to things we can learn from, and really think about what we can do. So we've shared a poll with you. We wanted to know how you're feeling. So a lot of you are feeling sort of like about 55% of you are feeling motivated and ready. The polls are completely anonymous. Some of you are a little bit nervous. I'd love to know what's making you feel nervous. Are you worried it's not going to work? Are you a little bit nervous that you have gone too far the wrong way? And what's your biggest challenge? So portion sizes is the highest problem. So that's really interesting. Let us know more. We would really like to help you with this, wouldn't we, Sam? It's really, really interesting to know what your challenges are, because I think it's also for you, really helpful for you, I think, to think about this and what is going to be the thing that's going to get in your way. And is it that your portion sizes are too big or too small, or you're finding it difficult to be healthy? Really like to know more. Sam, what's your thinking around that?
Yeah, I mean, portion sizes are, it can be a challenge, and certainly over the summer holidays when our routines might be sort of a bit uh our routines change. We are more spontaneous. We might have more family time, more time with our children, more maybe more treat time, more family time. They can all be a bit of a minefield, and portion sizes will come into that, as will other things. So we're here to talk to you about coming back to the focus on your well-being, on your holistic weight loss journey. So we're this slide talks about choosing a focus. Okay, so we can think of these as pillars of weight loss. So we can think about what we're eating, when we're eating, how much we're moving our body, whether that includes a bit of resistance as well, how well we're sleeping. That recovery and resetting of our body is so important for weight loss, and actually our mindset the next day is impacted by our sleep. So stress management, of course, our self-care, how we cope, our mindset, where are we, where what do we really believe that we can succeed on this change that we have set our minds on, our emotions, being aware of how we're feeling along all the steps of this journey, and of course our ever important habits, those small steps, those daily things that really add up to the bigger picture. Okay, so looking at this slide, you can see that a weight loss journey is so much more than just calories in and calories out. Okay, we it's really powerful to have a look at this and really contemplate where you want to choose to put your focus on this journey. Okay, for example, um, what do you think could be holding you back at the moment? What do you think is working really well for you at the moment? What do you think, if you paid attention to one of these pillars, which one would act as a real catalyst for your success? Um, and think about it, in terms of foods, are there foods that you know that these are not helping my weight loss journey, and I might be having them a bit too regularly? Are there foods that actually don't agree with you? Physically, they don't agree with you, but you do indulge in them occasionally, and then you end up regretting. And think about how your energy is affected by the foods you eat. So this is an opportunity. This slide is really an opportunity to sort of reset, reevaluate where you are. And if you are at a point where, you know what, I really think I've kind of got lost in the weeds a bit over the summer. Right. This is your opportunity. And what I would really suggest actually is we can share the food and mood journal in the chat box with you. It's a really good starting point for you to record what you're eating over a few days, record how you feel, record what your drinking is like, not as a judgment in any way, but just as a record, just so that you have a physical record, a visual record that you can refer to and see how am I feeling? Okay, when I have those chocolate biscuits at break time, actually, how do I feel? What is my energy like an hour or two later? Do I have a bit of a slump? Does that mean that I'm more hungry at lunchtime? Or what happens when I add a bit more protein to my breakfast, for example, if I have um, a egg on whole wheat toast, something like that, or when I have compared to if I had a sweet pastry in the morning, how do I feel? So just noticing the difference, because sometimes we need to notice it and acknowledge it before we know that we want to make that change. It's that sort of validation of, okay, that those symptoms or that energy slump fits with that behavior or that food choice I made or that behavior choice that I made. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. And this slide is just a bit of a reminder of the pillars that we look at when we are talking about looking at a holistic weight loss journey.
Yeah, it's really, really helpful to be thinking in that way, isn't it? Just not to be focusing on, well, just to choose your focus because otherwise it can be overwhelming content. So we think it's really important to regroup at this point in time. If you're here and you're thinking, okay, what am I focusing on? Are you focusing on the big picture and your long-term success, or are you focusing on the here and the now? If we have goals which are really, quite big mountains to climb, that can feel really overwhelming, which is why the sort of research says breaking them down into small, short-term goals can be much more motivational and making it something that is much more within grasp and easier to achieve. Each small win that we have can build our confidence and it creates a sense of momentum. It's like stacking bricks. You build a stronger foundation step by step. So, we really would recommend that you think about your first short-term goal. So, what's that going to be to you? Is it you need to focus on eating certain foods, making sure you've got those vegetables nailed on your plate several times a day? Is it that you need to get the protein right? Is it that you need to sleep better? Is it that you need to not join in? I can see somebody was saying that their portion sizes have slipped over the summer. So that's the thing that for her, see, that's you've put that comment. So maybe for you, it's about thinking about portion sizes and getting them back in track, which with the portion sizes you know that work for you. If you're hungry, is it that you need to switch your foods around so that you fill up on more veggies? What could you do to really help that goal work for you? Because sometimes it's about understanding what that goal is and understanding the steps that you need to put in place to make that goal realistic for you. And then also think about what success looks like for you because it's not about anyone else, it's just about you. Could it be, is it the number on the scale? Is it about having more energy? Is it about fitting into a certain item of clothing? Is it making it through a stressful day without eating the wrong foods? Is it not having sneaky snacks in the evening or fridge raiding? We know everybody has times when they do all of these things which really get in their way. So, what's going on for you? Think about making it something measurable, something achievable, and something that you will feel really proud of when you've achieved that. Because we also know that when we achieve things that we want to and we celebrate that success, it can make us feel so much better and it can give us that boost and that lift and really help in terms of that motivation to carry forwards. So have a think, share in the chat box if you'd like to what you're going to plan on doing. So some saying portion sizes definitely and would like clothes to fit better. Somebody, Eve, you're saying the frustration thing is portions or snacking are not my challenge. Have breakfast 10 to 11 and dinner at 6. Portion sizes are not massive, no snacking in between, but weight does not seem to shift easily. Mindful that not moving a lot is my downfall. as I'm doing an 8 to 9 hour desk job. So there you are. Is there something, have you heard of this term, exercise snacks? I love this term and I think it's a really helpful one. So instead of having a snack that you eat, you have a little 5 minute snack of doing some movement. I think we tend to think that we have to go to the gym or we have to put shoes on and go out the house and go for a walk, but actually we can do things to physically move our body. You could do 5 squats every time you put the kettle on. It could be something as simple as that. And goodness me, the difference that that could make would be quite substantial. If you built that up over a course of a day or a week, how many squats could you do in the week? Sam, how many times do you put the kettle on?
Yeah, how many cups of tea do you have in a day? But it's things like
Yeah.
that kind of tagging things together. So that kind of like something that you do all the time, like putting the kettle on or getting a glass of water. Can you do a little exercise like that, like 5 squats or push-ups against the wall? Because you're right, that sedentary lifestyle, and Ruth and I both have desk jobs as well. We're sat at a desk ostensibly for 8 hours a day. So we have to program in movement because we know sedentariness is really not good for our health, not only our waistline, but a whole host of metabolic issues ensue when we do not move our bodies. And it might be that we are simply out of the habit of building in exercise, but this is our challenge to you, an invitation, let's say, you know, bring bring in a bit of that movement, and whether it is that stacking habits, whether it is having an exercise snack instead of a physical snack, just that bringing in movement to the body is so important. And I would just say simple movement to start with. Squats are great because it's a body weight resistance movement. So you are utilizing the muscles, you're building muscle at the same time. We've got someone here saying, I've been doing the housework this morning, running up and down the stairs in a 4-story house. Fantastic. So that I wouldn't even class as that's what we would call non-exercise activity time. Is that neat? It's brilliant because you don't,
Benefits, isn't it? It's sort of
yeah,
like how we're burning fuel
yeah,
by
we're burning fuel by doing our everyday things like cleaning the house. Fantastic. So it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to my Zumba class, because that's the sort of exercise thing. That is brilliant, but you have to make that a habit. If we're not used to it, we have to build that habit. But the housework, it's not going to do itself. We're going to have to do it. So doing that physical activity as we are doing our activities of daily life is great, and building in that habit. So, you know, taking out the what hanging out the laundry can be quite a physical thing, and making sure that we are being as active as we can, especially if we have, like so many of us now have, very sedentary jobs. We really need to prioritize our well-being and bring in that movement day to day, even if it is that sitting down. Ruth and I both have invested in little sort of converters for our desks so that we have this standing desk option so that we're not actually seated for most of the day. We can shift position. It's not that we have to stand all day, but to move position is really beneficial as well. So it's a really good point you make. So thank you for bringing that up. It's really and I'm sure it's not just you that realizes that they're sitting a lot of the day, but that's a really good point to bring in, and somewhere that we can start with that invitation to bring in more movement when is possible over the day. And it doesn't have to be that you take an hour, you use your whole lunch break for something. It can just be little bits of movement over the day, just a few minutes at a time, doing those activities, those squats, those just little movements that will build over time.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important because actually we have our sort of insulin sensitivity is built in our muscles as well. So the more we move our muscles, the more sensitive we're going to become to insulin. We have these little things called GLUT4 receptors in our muscles. So just some sort of flexing of our muscles can make such a difference. So let's think about food. Just to remind you, the food fundamentals we could share, please, Gareth or Raman, the core meal plan and the GLP-1 meal planner. They're really simple planning documents to help you sort of really think about your food and creating those healthful plates to really support you. But really, let's keep it simple. We want to be thinking, okay, let's eat as many real foods that come sort of like without the packaging, without the sort of man-made element or the sort of processing element to them. Let's think about that protein. Protein really helps with satiety and with insulin sensitivity. and with muscle mass. So, really, an important component of why we need that protein is all around health and weight management. So, a minimum of 1 gram per kilogram really of protein per day. So, you would take that amount, work out how much your protein is a day, and divide that across those 3 meals. You want to be thinking about vegetables, and really, if you go for the colourful vegetables, they tend to be the sort of lower glycemic load vegetables. They have less sugar in naturally. They are very filling. They've all got all sorts of amazing phytonutrients in them that really help with our overall health and for helping our cells work in our body. So bring those in. If you're feeling hungry, if you're really struggling with your portions, really max up your vegetables. Get that colour everywhere that you can on every plate that you eat. And if you go for a little sneaky snack, maybe try and think about this balance even with the snack, because then it's sort of like a healthy snack. It becomes something like a mini meal rather than a naughty, sort of like sugar rich or sort of processed food rich, dense snack. Make sure you chew really well and take time out to eat, to rest and digest. Bring in those healthy fats. So you want a small amount of healthy fats. We sort of suggest a thumb-sized portion of healthy fats. If it's an avocado, you can have half a whole avocado or even a whole avocado. And you want to be thinking, do I need carbohydrates? Where am I going to get my carbohydrates from? You want them to be whole grains as much as possible, so the brown rice as opposed to the white rice. And I would say 2 or 3 tablespoons is going to be enough for most of us most of the time. And don't forget that hydration. If you're really struggling with portions, hydration can be your number one friend. Try and have something like 500 mils of water at the beginning of a meal. It can really help, and the research tells us that that alone, that step alone, can help with weight loss. So, really important to be thinking, am I adequately hydrated? Is my urine nice and clear? If it's really dark, then maybe you need to be thinking, why is that? Is there something going on in my body? Do I need to talk to somebody about this? Or is it that I'm actually not hydrated adequately? And being really well hydrated can really help, can't it, Sam? We're absolute believers of hydration.
Oh yeah, hydration is, and it's one of those things. It's also can be a bit sneaky because sometimes we confuse, I say we, all of us, confuse the signals our brain gets for hunger with thirst, and we're actually thirsty. And most of us, I think, do exist on a bit of a sort of dehydrated borderline, most of the day, not drinking very much or drinking a lot of sort of caffeinated drinks, which are okay, but not they're not going to hydrate you as well as clear fluids. So, we're really thinking when we talk about hydration, we're talking about uh, essentially water or water with a bit of electrolyte in there just to help that hydration, help the body to hold on to that hydration. Um, yeah. Instead of course, we're not talking about sugar-containing drinks or fizzy drinks. We generally would want to steer clear of those because we know that even uh, sort of artificially sweetened drinks, one, they're ultra processed, and two, we know that we get the same insulin response because our body is a incredible machine, and these sort of modern, newfangled sweeteners, our body still detects sweet, and so we still will mount the same response to manage a sweet food intake as we would had that been a sugar-containing drink. So just to bear that in mind. So this slide is all about measuring our success, and that this is going to be different for everyone. And I know many of us will not be fans of standing on scales and measuring weight. And we have to remember that weight is not the only indicator here. We're really looking at our well-being. We're looking at our risks, our metabolic risk factors, and we're looking to reduce all of those and feel good. So really, we are looking at feeling good. So we are looking at energy levels. We're looking at how our clothes feel, how comfortable we feel in our bodies, celebrating our wins, those healthier choices becoming more automatic. So success is progress and not perfection. So if you're more consistent, feeling better, and moving towards your goals, you're succeeding, whatever it says on the scales. I know a lot of people can feel a bit disheartened when they get on the scales. The scales only measure one thing, okay? And what we're really doing when we're changing our diet to a more whole food led diet, we're hydrating better, we're sleeping better, we are managing our stress more consciously, we are changing our habits and our mindset. We those are Those are more internal changes. And over time, what we're actually really looking for is change in body composition. So we're looking over time and over the course of the whole journey is reducing our body fat and increasing our muscle tissue, because our muscle tissue is that good active tissue. It's involved in our insulin sensitivity. It obviously keeps us strong as well and able to move through the world with more ease. That's the long-term goal. So this is all to say we are not hyper focusing on weight really. We are really looking at that overall picture, that holistic well-being. How good are you feeling moving along this journey, and celebrating yourself, celebrating your successes, and sticking to a menu plan or a different way of eating than perhaps you had before. And maybe that involves reduce slightly smaller portion sizes, or just a different way of looking at how you build that plate. And that those meal planner documents, those tools can be really helpful, because we we need to get those proportions right, making sure we've got the protein on the plate, we've got those fibrous vegetables on there, we've got some really good healthy fats in there, and those diverse vegetables and different different whole foods that can all contribute to our overall health.
Yes, very much so. I mean, I think it's just crucial, isn't it, to be thinking that way and to be thinking about this. So we were just going to remind you of the tools. Sam, I don't know if you want to remind everyone of all of the amazing tools that we've
Yes.
created for you.
We have got so much now on the Boots Online Doctor website that we offer you, and it's they're all really useful, and different ones may suit you differently. Okay, so we're all individuals. The Tracker app is fantastic and quite new. So for those of you who haven't downloaded it yet, it's completely free, available on the App Store and the Google equivalent. The food and symptom diary we've already shared with you today. It's a really useful step if you're getting back on track. Just recording, it's a good visual aid to just help you understand where you are, what you're eating, what you're drinking, how you're feeling. Excuse me. Um, we've got our Weight Loss 360 podcast series that myself and Ruth and our dear friend Helen were involved in making. It's a really useful, if you're a podcast listener, it's a really good one. There are 10 episodes, 10 full-length episodes, 10 mini episodes. You've got the replays of the webinars, these webinars that are all available on the YouTube channel, which you will receive a link to after this webinar. So sorry, I'm just rabbiting on now. We've got a whole exercise video series for you. If you need some inspiration, that is on there, and we can share the link to the exercise videos too. The 10-week weight loss course, you can take longer than 10 weeks to do it. It's instant access. It's on the website now. And of course, if you're a Boots Online Doctor customer, you've got our support as well. You can always message us through your account. And we are also now offering 12-month support after you come off your GLP-1 medication, your weight loss injectable, if you are on one. And we will support you afterwards, because, of course, the maintenance phase is really vital. You know, we've got the acute weight loss phase, but then we want to maintain the healthier weight that we have achieved, and we're here to help you with that. So there's lots of resources that we'd really love you to take advantage of. Um, so thank you, everyone. We've got some great questions. Do pop the questions into the Q&A box, because sometimes we do lose them in the chat.
We'll
Um,
do our best to find them. We will do our best to find them. And just to remind you what webinars we have coming up over the rest of September and the beginning of October. We have a webinar all about building new habits, which is really important, that we're running next week. We've got a whole new webinar about overcoming emotional eating, because we recognise a lot of people really struggle with this. So we have one of the wider Boots Online Doctor team joining myself, I think, for the webinar, where we're going to be really talking through what this is and how to perhaps overcome it. And then we're going to be looking at weight loss in perimenopause and menopause at the beginning of October. So do join us for those if they're of interest to you. And we are going to stop sharing the screen now and come to your questions. So let's see where we go. Great, Sam.
oh, we have a question here. So about workouts and leg exercises, would you recommend, okay, what workout would you recommend to reduce thigh size and hips? I'm aware you can't spot reduce. However, I know there are workouts that are much better than others to achieve these results. So I would agree in that there is not a way to spot reduce, and I would probably be one, you could use our exercise video series to help you there to what the exercises will be doing and the resistance exercises will be doing is supporting the muscle in your legs, maybe in the sort of pelvic girdle, the muscles that support our core. So you're talking about core conditioning there, which is great. And I love that you're asking about this because I think it's really important for your health, and supporting your core can not only support your hips and your thighs, it will support your lower back as well. So it's great that you're asking about that. Reducing your weight or the size, the measurement of your thighs or your hips. I If you want to do something that's more sort of elongating and stretching, you might want to look at something like Pilates to have that more sort of stretching and flexibility as well, which may help with measurements, but I'm not the world's expert, so I'm sorry I can't answer that more fully than that. But I think you know that you I can't tell you, oh, do this exercise and you'll lose inches on your on hips or thighs or what have you. But you will be, if you're doing resistance exercise, you'll be strengthening those really important muscles, and you'll be supporting the joints that they are, all those attachments, so the hip joints, the knee joints, which is vital, going forwards.
Yep, very much. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. Unrelated question, but somebody is mentioning, and this is something that we hear about regularly, that they're losing weight and losing hair at the same time. So they're noticing that they're losing hair, and they are taking a GLP-1. But I believe that hair loss is something that can happen alongside weight loss anyway. So it's not necessarily just about the GLP-1. Sam, any comments you'd like to make about that? And I'm thinking,
I would be really making sure that you are eating enough, and especially things, I don't know if you're vegetarian or vegan or anything like that, just making sure you're having some iron-rich foods. Or sorry, I don't actually know if you're male or female, but if you have heavy periods, something like that. Low iron is often a cause of hair loss. There are various other conditions. If it is sort of very noticeable, I would speak to your GP about those basic tests. Um, but also it's weight loss itself, especially if weight loss is fast, we want to be making sure that you are eating enough. So you're having at least 2 meals a day, and those are full of whole foods. You're having a diverse diet. You're having the right amount of nutrients. If you are taking using a GLP-1 medication, we do advise taking a multivitamin, which is a standard sort of A to Z multivitamin. We recommend a Boots multivitamin alongside, but really we recommend having a good whole food diet so that you're not missing out on those vital nutrients that could be contributing also uh, to the hair loss that you're experiencing.
and make sure you're eating enough protein as well. That's such an important component of hair, the component of hair. So, if you're managing that 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, you could potentially consider nudging that up a little bit further just to see if that helps with that hair loss. But all of that, Sam says, go and get checked out if it's sort of significant. Make sure your nutrients are sort of like balanced as much as possible. Some great comments in the chat box from somebody who started Reformer Pilates a month ago. Love it and can feel a big difference with firming up muscles after losing weight. Brilliant. Stairmaster. I'm not sure what that is. Is that another great little thing that you can do at the gym, I think? Somebody's asking in the chat box, Lemon, you're asking, can you eat for energy, or are there any snacks that can give you motivation to go to the gym? I'm not sure a snack would help me feel motivated to go to the gym. Is it sort of like that treat mindset? Well, if I go to the gym, I can have this snack. Or is it a different sort of thing? I'm thinking maybe a smoothie might be a nice pre-gym workout, depending on what you're doing and how hard you're working. But again, you can make smoothies at home. So, you could be using some yogurt or some nut butters, some healthy fats, some coconut oil or some avocado, some milk, plant-based or cow's milk, whichever you prefer, and some berries. That can be really easy. Yeah, really easy to do and can really help. But you don't want to go to the gym feeling full up either, so it needs to be small amounts, really. Somebody,
Thank you, Lemons.
yeah,
Sorry, she's just said their articles are saying if you lose a lot of weight, you may also have hair loss, but apparently it comes back when you stop and your weight evens out. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say that I would, my impression is that hair loss from that's associated with GLP-1 use is generally because of nutrient imbalance, rather than the drug itself, and not having that adequate protein intake, iron intake, that sort of thing. So if it is significant, just to look into that. Of course, there can be completely different hair loss causes, so it might be worth a conversation with your GP if you're concerned. And not everyone is a fan of the gym, and that is completely valid. You don't have to go to the gym if you hate it. And I think the whole point of what we talk about is finding something that suits you that you can carry on. So even your approach to food, Mediterranean diet or a low GI approach, it still can be delicious. It doesn't have to be horrible because no one's going to stick to something that is horrible. I wouldn't. Ruth wouldn't. We want to enjoy our food, and that can actually involve us being a little bit courageous and trying things that we wouldn't normally, getting out of that comfort zone, which we can so easily get stuck in when it comes to our food. We can, almost have our repertoire of, the five dishes that we make day in day, week in, week out, and it's just becomes habit, and we're human and we kind of operate through habits. But sometimes pushing out of our comfort zone and trying something different, more whole foods, trying some to be a bit more plant-based in some cases, or doing a plant-based meal but adding in the protein that you're wanting to build up to that one gram per kilogram over the day. So not a fan of the gym, completely fine. What are you a fan of? What do you enjoy doing? How do you like moving your body? Maybe it's dancing, maybe it is walking in the countryside, maybe it's taking the dog for a walk or taking your friend's dog for a walk. It can be anything. Sometimes we like doing things that are social, so with other people. So maybe joining, a tango class or what happens to be going on in your area. But making it fun is such a key to making it consistent.
fun equals consistency. Yeah, this is our new. So somebody's asking for some quick and easy high protein breakfast. So eggs. If you're an egg lover, eggs are probably one of the easiest things. You can cook them in advance and just take them out of the fridge. You can make lovely tortillas, which you again can just slice up and have a wedge of out of the fridge. So that's really as quick as possible and healthy and homemade. Smoothies, we've just talked through. A smoothie can work for some people. Maybe just some nuts and some fruit is another really quick option, or some nut butters and some fruit. You want to just keep it as simple as possible. Something again, it's simplicity, isn't it? I think for most of us in life at the moment, finding simple options makes it work. And again, we can be consistent and it will work for us then. Anything from you? Yogurt, again, yogurt can be great.
Yogurt's a good one. Yogurt with some berries, maybe some seeds on top. You could do some soaked chia. Overnight oats is a good one, but you have to think about that in advance. Um,
Yeah.
you could do sort of whole wheat toast with half an avocado and a fried egg. I quite enjoy that. Um, yeah. Um,
Good.
so many options. I'm
Yeah.
sure we've got some in that the GLP-1 and the core meal planner as well.
And Gareth
Um,
just signed our lovely protein-rich foods document to
oh,
really
fantastic.
about where you get your protein from and how much you'll find in those. Thanks, Gareth. That's brilliant. Um, great. So hopefully that's given you some ideas anyway. Somebody is saying, "Oh, spice is bad for weight loss." Absolutely. As far as I know, I would say categorically no. I would say that there are some spices which possibly could help with weight loss. And actually, if we make our food tasty and enjoyable, then, and we're eating healthy foods, then they're going to be good. There are some spices which are naturally a little bit more anti-inflammatory. So if you're suffering with inflammatory conditions, then they can be really great. So things like turmeric, ginger, all of those things. Cinnamon's great. Well, there's a tiny bit of evidence that suggests that cinnamon might help a little bit with cravings and insulin sensitivity. So again, that's something you could put into those overnight oats or on your yogurt. Can be
I
great.
quite like cinnamon in my coffee actually, and and I don't take sugar, but I think cinnamon in coffee is very nice.
It's
Um,
naturally really sweet, isn't it?
yeah.
And I think some people really like vanilla essence in their coffee for the same reason. I'm sort of like feeling a little bit nauseous at the thought. We're all,
I challenge you to try cinnamon in your
I,
coffee, Ruth.
I'll try the cinnamon. I'll go that far, but definitely not the vanilla. What can you do for sagging skin at the bottom of your stomach? That's really hard. You probably need to look at those exercise videos in terms of toning your stomach, number one. Also, make sure that you're hydrated because skin is very elastic, so we need proper elasticity. Make sure you're bringing in those healthy fats, so coconut oil, avocado, olive oil, the nuts, the seeds, the oily fish, all of those really healthy fats to help with skin elasticity and protein. Collagen is made from all of those things and protein. So we want to be thinking that may help. Hopefully it will. See how you get on, but let us know because that is quite distressing. And I know lots of people are finding that can be the case. So thank you for asking. It's really helpful when we get these questions because it makes us think and also makes other people realize they're not the only ones who are experiencing these difficult things. Any topical lotions patients, how to improve skin elasticity, or is it all marketing rubbish? Sam, over to you. I've read and I have made a commitment and I'll write it back down on the top of my list to look into collagen and see whether there is anything that is really research evidence around collagen being helpful. I don't know of any topical applications. Do you know of any, Sam?
I have to say I don't, but I imagine that the act of massaging that skin would be quite beneficial and using, a body lotion of your choice. Um, I I think this is more of a dermatology question and I do not know the answer. Um, yeah, I think like nourishing yourself from the inside is the way to do it. But I think, if the skin is very dry, especially if we know that, historically we have been quite dehydrated, skin often becomes dry. So using a sort of massage motion and keeping that skin as healthy as you can from the outside with a nice, I don't know, cocoa butter type um, moisturizer would be a good thing. I do not know whether it would be you know, make a dramatic difference, but it will keep that skin hydrated.
Yeah, and lemon has just suggested shea butter, which actually is a great idea, and almond oil. Yeah, and also vitamin E oil can be really
Yeah.
interesting as well for skin health. So all of those applications, so brilliant. Somebody is asking and saying that they wake up in the night, and I'm sure this is not just you that's asking this question. So again, thanks for asking the question. Waking up in the night to pass urine and find that you often stay awake then around 4. Now that's really interesting because I think that's when our circadian rhythm dips. So it's sort of like a natural time where our sort of energy will dip. And people who are, suffering with insomnia or difficulty sleeping will often find that they wake up at that time. And often people who are on that weight loss journey, perhaps they're eating slightly less, they're drinking slightly more, so they have that greater need to pass urine in the middle of the night. If your sort of whole circadian rhythm is sort of working against you, or you're having a lot of stress going on in your head or in your body, that can be a real issue in terms of actually getting back to sleep. So things like some nice mindful practices, maybe some magnesium. We often suggest like a magnesium spray oil at bedtime can really help in terms of relaxation. So that might be something that you could put on before you go to bed. Some people, if this is a really regular occurrence, just having a small protein and carbohydrate rich snack, so something like an oat. What am I thinking? Like of an oat biscuit, not a biscuit, an oat cake, and some nut butter, like some almond butter before bed, might be a good snack. Or kiwis are fantastic for sleep. So you can have a couple of kiwis before bed as well. Any thoughts around that that you'd like to add?
I guess thinking when you have your last drink of the day, and making sure that obviously the sort of obvious things are taken care of. When do you stop drinking caffeine in the day? Does it need to be, maybe at the moment you have your last caffeinated drink at 2 p.m. Actually, maybe that needs to come forward to midday and see how that impacts your need to pee overnight. What time is your last drink in the evening? You know, some of us go to bed with a glass of water by the bedside, and I don't think that that is necessary, especially if you're getting up all night to pee. You should be able to drink enough over the day to satisfy yourself. I know for some of us it will be a habit, but something to consider if that is one of your habits.
Somebody is asking, does the temperature of the water matter when we drink it? I cold from the fridge or warm or just room temperature? In terms of weight loss, I don't think it really matters. I think there's some anecdotal suggestion that cold water may slightly have the edge in terms of helping that thermic effect and sort of burning a few more calories, but it's minimal. And I think the key thing is have it in the way that you enjoy it. And when it's cold, we often like a little bit of warm water to warm us up, don't we?
Yeah. Often it's quite an Ayurvedic custom to have warm water, to just drink warm water around meals and that sort of thing. It's actually quite beneficial to keep the bowels regular and that sort of thing. So, you know, but if that is your preference, we're all a bit different. And if you wanted to go for herbal teas, if some of us just don't like water, the plainness of water. Sometimes that's it's just working on it, and then our taste buds change. Sometimes we are very used to having very sweet drinks, fizzy drinks, cordials, that sort of thing, fruit juices. So the taste of water just seems so plain that our body is just not used to it. But remembering that we are at least 70% water, our body needs water and all the other things are the additions that we don't really need. So yeah, however you prefer your water, I think go for it.
And thanks, Gareth. You've shared the top tips for sleep document that we created quite some time ago now. But that's great. And I'm sure it's very pertinent and relevant. We also have a podcast about sleep and weight management. So that may be worth listening into too. So yes, I think that's great. Some great feedback here about people changing their habits and having a rice bowl, which was only 500 calories, and switching to salads when the other family members are having naughty foods. So well done for that. It's really hard. But when you do it and you feel so much better, it gives you that lift, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you're on top of the world and you're achieving, which is really nice. Somebody's asking, Sam, if there's been a change from professionals around how many steps you need to lose weight. I can't comment on that.
I don't believe there has been. I mean, the sort of recommendation of 10,000 steps a day is quite high for those of us that perhaps even work from home and, work at a desk job. Um, so if we can't get those steps in, let's think about how we can get the movement in and think in more broad terms. How can we get 150 minutes of exercise or movement in a week, as is the recommendation. So what do we do? And sometimes that can be, really good to reflect on, and not in a judgmental way, but just in a how can I improve on this if I'm not quite there yet, because we know that movement, it doesn't have to be you join a netball team. It can be, something that you enjoy. That is the key. That is what will feed that consistency. And the consistency is what is going to support your success, which is what it is all about. Um, something you enjoy, dancing, swimming, rock climbing, whatever you like doing, that's something that needs to be what is that focused on, so that you enjoy this and it doesn't feel onerous and like it's a chore and like, you know,
Someone's just written napping. No,
nothing.
that does not count.
Doesn't count, sorry.
But it made me laugh, so thank you for the laugh. Treadmills or steppers under the desk, or is that rubbish? No, it's not rubbish. It's about you, isn't it? It's about, okay, if you'd enjoy having a treadmill under your desk and you wouldn't be scared like I would be that I'd fall off, then go ahead and let us know how you get on. It's very, very relevant to you. It's about you. You know, we're a group of people here. We're all trying to find our way forward in life in a way that's helpful and meaningful to us individually. And we can share our tips. And some of the tips that we share will really resonate with you. And you'll think, yes, I'm going to give that a go because it makes sense to me. And I fancy that because it appeals to me. There are some things that people will suggest to you that you just think, actually, that's really not for me. And for me, I don't really want that treadmill under my desk. I think I would fall off and that would be a disaster. But we are all very
I would
different.
definitely fall off too, Ruth. I'm right there with you. So I have a balance board, which is interesting, which I
Me
sometimes go
too.
on.
My God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is hard. I mean, I can't type at the same time as being on a balance board, but you know, that's more interesting to me than a step for
I
me.
also
But you
have,
do see people.
and I think
Oh,
we've both got rebounders as well, haven't we? So
yes, I don't have
there are,
much space, so the
yeah,
rebounder is in my loft.
my
But yes,
rebounder is not sitting in a good place, so we won't talk about that right now. Don't think my uncle's rebounder ready. But yeah, somebody's saying they don't eat breakfast, can it hinder weight loss? I would challenge you if you're really finding it difficult to lose weight and that's, you're not finding that you're being successful, then try putting in some breakfast and see if it makes a difference. I sometimes find people who aren't eating breakfast will be really hungry in the evening. So if they then put a protein-rich breakfast in and they're then not getting the nibbles in the evening, there's your answer. If you don't have breakfast and your energy is consistent, your sleep is good, you're not having massive cravings, then I would suggest that that may be working for you. But I think it is also orientated about our life stage. So, different stages of our life, different approaches to eating will work, and we don't just stick. So, it could be that there are phases in your life where not having breakfast is perfect for you, and other phases of your life where actually putting the breakfast back in is better for you. So, it's be prepared to just play around and see, use that food tracker and the mood tracker and really see how different approaches work for you. Something we play with individually as well, um, because we all change and life stress is different, life is different, what's going on in our life is different. We have to change with whatever is going on for us individually as well.
definitely. And if you are going to introduce a breakfast, remember to have some protein in there. You know, not just carbohydrates. You have the egg base or the nuts or the yogurt. You know, think about that if you are going to. And it doesn't. It could just be something very small.
Yeah, literally, I quite often for breakfast will just have some nuts and an apple, and I love that. And I'm shocked at how long it will keep me going for. So we're all different, and so it's about finding. Cayenne pepper is aid in weight loss. I think I've read a small amount of research that suggests those spicy foods like cayenne pepper, chili can help a little bit. Again, it's got to be something that you enjoy. So if you like those sort of spicier, richer spices, go for it. It's not going to do any harm unless you have some intolerance to it for some reason. Somebody's saying when they became menopausal that they developed a taste for sparkling water, so you drink more of that. It's very peculiar, isn't it? When these things happen, we have no rhyme or reason for it. But as long as it's working for you, then that's all that matters. I don't like raw nuts. Are roasted nuts healthy? They you can so one of the things you can do is you can soak your nuts to make the enzymes in the nuts activated. That can be a really helpful way. And then roast them on a very gentle heat so that they're not getting a blast of hot heat, which will destroy all of the healthy fats in them. So you want to do it on a very low heat, I would say. So you can do that, but just a little bit more gently. Yeah.
Let's just there's just a comment and then about nuts being high in fats. Let's talk about nuts fats being actually quite healthy fats. So this is why we don't focus so much on calories. We're focusing on the whole food. So nuts have so much more in them than just the calories, right? So they do have an energy content, and we have to eat everything in moderation, but they have really healthy fats. They have good minerals. They have some fiber in there too. They are really real like dietary superheroes. So let's not discount the humble nut. And almonds are great. So we love almonds, walnuts, cashews, and these, mix it up. We will all have different tastes, and it's not having enormous quantities, but those nuts are have a lot of great stuff in them that we don't, so we don't want to discount them. But we want to have them in moderation. And like, as what, how many would you say is a portion size, Ruth, for
Oh
our
my
friends
goodness.
here?
For
It's
almonds,
hard
maybe
to say.
10 to 20 almonds. It depends on what you're having them with. Somebody just put a great comment in the chat box, and we do talk about this in one of our psychology of eating. A big mouthful. So, piece of advice that they were given a few years ago was if you want to eat chocolate cake, have it, but eat the very best chocolate cake you can find. And I love that. So I agree. I think actually
Great.
we want pleasure, and if chocolate cake is that thing that gives you the pleasure, have some, have it in moderation, and don't forget with our taste receptors, actually, the first bite is the best. And I'd really challenge you to just see how you respond to that chocolate cake when you're 3 or 4 or 5 or towards the end of that slice. Are you really getting the pleasure, or is the pleasure coming right at the beginning? So, in which case, can you have a smaller piece and less, calories? We don't talk about calories, but when it comes to chocolate cake, maybe we should. But maybe just enjoy a smaller portion because actually the pleasure comes right at the beginning. It's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. And we talk a lot about this in the podcast. And it's kind of from when you are in that maintenance phase or when you're a good way into your weight loss journey and you feel kind of in control, that you don't have to be mega strict on yourself and you shouldn't be denying yourself. And we don't want you to live your life, thinking you have to have foods that you don't like all day long and nothing is enjoyable anymore, because we know how much joy that we get from food and from sharing cakes with our friends or pizza night with the family, that sort of thing. And it doesn't mean that those things are off limit for the rest of time. That's not fair. We have to get ourselves into that good space of I know how to look after myself. And maybe there's an indulgence this weekend because it's so and so's birthday. Fine. I will go and I will have the best piece of chocolate cake I can find and I will really enjoy it. At least that first bite or two will be the best. And then we see, and maybe I decide actually I'm going to share it with my friend because, you know, I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought I would, all the way through. It's really interesting that, it's that first bite that is the most delectable. And then we can bring in that piece of mindfulness and just really savor that first bite and the textures and all the different complex tastes in there, that sort of thing. And then seeing actually how much of this cake do I need to eat, actually, because I've just had the best bit, you know? Um, but yeah, are there more questions? I think we've gone through all of our questions. Wowzers. Um,
Yeah, there's one now about plantain chips. Are they healthy? Would that make an ideal snack? I would say they are probably a little bit on the then in terms of balance, they're a less balanced snack than something like maybe some nuts and an apple, simply because they're going to be slightly higher in carbohydrates and lower in protein. So I would want to combine those with something that is giving you a little bit of a protein hit. Swapped crisps for crunchy air fried tofu. That sounds great. And also chickpeas are really nice air fried too. We're going to leave you with those thoughts and hopefully you got your mouths watering for some healthy snacks. We look forward to seeing you next week and we will be back here on Monday as usual at 1. And I think we're going to be talking all about habits. So if you would love to join us, we would love to see you there. Do sign up. Gareth, have you signed and shared the link? Perfect. The link has been shared for signing up for next week's webinar. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week, and we'll be asking you next week. We'll do a little bit of an accountability drop in right at the beginning to see how you've gotten on with this week. We know that that can help. All right. Thanks, Sam.
yes, thank you, Ruth. Thanks, everyone. See you.